No, what was that?
I can't remember what it's called right now. But it's basically the idea.
I don't know.
The guy's like. What he does is like he eats like just the burger and like diet soda.
I think when we see sanctions, the policy of sanctions and how they've been used historically by the United States, the whole point is to cause privations among the people, to try to weaken the resolve of the people by making the material situation significantly worse. And I think they're hoping that movements like, like the Green Movement, although it doesn't have to be the Green Movement, it could be a new movement, that because people are feeling so beat down by the sanctions that perhaps they will then rally to any movement that says, well, we're going to overthrow the Islamic Republic. The use of sanctions quite clearly is to try to soften people up for regime change and try to make them rise up against their government whether they want to or not, because they feel that this is the only way to get any sort of change. We've seen it not just in Iran, and in El Salvador, in Nicaragua, for example, with the elections there, with the Sandinistas in the 1990, they say, well, we'll continue to support these Contra forces, these arena forces who are out here committing genocide unless you vote for them in the election and remove the Sandinistas. And so we see this here in Iran. They want to try to create a fait accompli for the people of Iran. Either they maintain support for the Islamic Republic and have to face sanctions and war, or they rise up and try and overthrow the Islamic Republic, and then they can have friendship with the United States as long as they continue. A new government would be an ally of the United States. So clearly it's a blackmail type policy is what these sanctions are all about.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
What do you think about the policies of President Obama? Do you support President Obama's policies?
I don't support President Obama's policies towards Iran.
But do you support President Obama?
In a general sense, no, I don't. I think that essentially he, like most other members of the two-party system, are really representatives of the 1%, to use the Occupy language, more concerned about Wall Street than the average people.
Okay, so come November, you'll be supporting somebody else other than President Obama?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay, so the NDAA and the indefinite detention, you're definitely against?
We're definitely against that, without a doubt, without a doubt. For the president to say that they can kill anyone, detain anyone, do whatever they want to them, and they never have to tell anyone because it's a secret, and that we just have to trust them that they're terrorists, that's unbelievable. So I'm firmly against the NDAA and all of these erosion of the civil liberties we've seen post 9/11.
Right. So are you basically against all intervention overseas, or just
we are against intervention by the United States, because we view the interventions by the United States are not for the well-being of people in other countries. They're just simply a geostrategic control mechanism.
So are you for the pulling out the troops from Afghanistan as well?
Yes, we think the occupation of Afghanistan should be ended immediately.
And the funds that we saved by ending the wars overseas, what would you advocate doing?
Well, I think we should use them to meet people's human needs. Schools, roads, healthcare, education, all the things that we know we need in this country that we're continually told we don't have any money for.
Right. Do you have any concerns about the budgetary problems and the budget deficit and the fact that the government prints and borrows billions of dollars, trillions of dollars? Do you have any concerns about that? Or?
Well, I don't have a huge concern over it. I think the thing about the deficit is that what it really matters to is the bond markets, you know what I mean? But the idea, this idea that because of the deficit, that's the most important thing no matter what. I just don't think that, for example, President Obama cut the heating oil subsidy, as a so-called budget balancing measure to try to lower the deficit. But I just don't think grandmothers in Maine should have to go cold because they can't afford their heating oil, because of some deficit issue that's going on here.
Right. So you don't think that the fact that our own Federal Reserve prints dollars in any way damages low or middle income people in the United States?
Well, I think certainly the erosion of the dollar and issues of inflation are very important for working people, because it says, how far they can stretch their dollar and what they're able to do. So I think obviously we have to pay attention to these issues, but I don't think that the key economic issue is the printing of money. I don't think just printing paper money is in and of itself the cause of the economic problems in the United States.
So printing money, you don't think it's a cause of the problems at all?
Well, I think no. I think what they're printing money for certainly is one of the problems. But I don't think that, for example, if they replaced, say, the so-called paper money, fiat money, whatever you want to call it, with gold, I don't think that would change the nature of the American regime.
So you want to maintain the power of the government to print and borrow as much money as they need to finance whatever they.
Well, I don't think the government should finance whatever they want. That's for sure.
So it's basically you want to reorient it towards your goals. Take the printed money, reorient it towards your goals. You don't have any concerns about the dollar being debased and inflation, the constant rising of prices.
Well, I'm deeply concerned about inflation, without a doubt. I mean, I think that clearly that is a serious issue that affects working people is inflation, and especially the fact that, you know, wages, minimum wage, they're not indexed to inflation, so there's significant problems for people. The money they make not being, you know, year after year continually being less and less. I think that is a problem, but I don't think that, you know, it's a problem that's caused by this printing money.
Social Security and low incomes struggle to pay their bills because of inflation?
Well, without a doubt. But I just don't think that the printing of money is the cause. I understand where you're coming from. You're coming from an Austrian perspective. You're coming from an Austrian perspective. I understand.
Prices just keep rising because of greedy corporations. Doesn't have anything to do with the government printing on
Well,
money.
on the one hand, I think that there is price leadership for sure, because we live in a monopoly economy where prices are determined on the basis of sort of a cartelization of various, you know, industries and sectors of the economy. I think prices are primarily based, however, though, on the value of the goods, not just on the fact that, you know, they're valued in dollar-denominated assets.
So the printing of money itself you don't believe that to be inflationary?
I don't believe the printing of money in and of itself is inflationary.
That's a natural thing for governments to do, just print money. When you need to pay your bills, the government just prints money, pays for it. Well, that's a natural thing.
Yeah, I don't know if just doing whatever you want is natural, but I think that a government trying to provide for human needs is or should be natural if it's
provide for human needs.
Yeah, I think the main goal of the economy should be to meet the broad needs of the masses of people, not just the Wall Street elites.
Is there any country that you would cite that would be an example of that?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, if you look at countries like Cuba, for example, which are very poor countries, which face a lot of threats from the United States, they still try to marshal their resources to provide some of the best health care in the entire world, if not the best health care in the entire world. Send 20,000 doctors around the country. They have sustainable agriculture that, you know, even the World Wildlife Foundation saying that this is the most sustainable economy in the world. I don't think that we need to copy everything they do, but I do think the goal of trying to...
But you would use it as a partial model for the United States?
Well, I'm not using anything as a model. I think the people of the United States need to figure out their own model, but I do think the essence, the spirit of it, of, you know, money for human needs is really correct.
So money, you believe the government should act basically for the public good?
Well, I think the people should act in their own good. I think that the government, any sort of government, should be subordinate to the democratic wishes of people.
The democratic wishes. So basically, based on a vote, the resources of the country should be allocated. Is that what you would advocate?
I think in the process of the struggle, we can figure out the exact mechanism. I appreciate you, but we're going to have to go.
Thank you.